Well, it begins like a few years actually before the law was passed in 1924. Actually, there was like a rancher. He lived in Kingman, Arizona, and he had a donkey that became like really accustomed to sleeping in an abandoned bathtub on his property. So that's why they passed a law.
Guys, fact number 9. In Tennessee, it's illegal to share your Netflix password.
Oh my gosh. So like, if you live in Tennessee, like,
You're
going to
jail! Apparently this law is directed at hackers who sell login credentials in bulk. I didn't know that, but wow. Other individuals who share passwords and don't live under the same roof also would be included. So, wow. I guess I can't move to Tennessee anytime soon.
No, because like we all do it. Like we all share Netflix passwords anyways. Okay, so this next fact was like such a stupid one. Okay, in Hawaii, it's actually illegal to put a coin on your ear. But like, what would make that illegal?
Why?
I don't know.
Why is it bad?
I don't know, but it's just like, I think it's just like magic shows, you know, like, oh, I got a coin from your ear, which is like, won't be fun anymore. Like, it's so sad. I don't know. That was a dumb law. Like, Hawaii, you gotta like really look at your law code book. Really.
I think they're just sick of magic shows. They're like, I'm done. I don't want to see any more magicians doing this. No more.
Number 7.
Wow. In Indiana, it's illegal to ride a horse above 10 miles per hour.
But how are you gonna know?
No horse shall be driven at a speed above 10 miles per hour due to high-speed horse races back in the day. Oh wow, I guess that was a law they never changed.
You know, I'm thinking, right? How are you gonna know how fast the horse is going?
I mean, I guess if you have it like on a highway or on a road, is that like a thing? But I don't know. We don't have horse ride, like, I don't go horse ride.
Or horse-ometers. At all. Okay, alright.
Do you ride horses in Toronto?
No.
Is that a thing?
Well, like, no, but like the Canadian Royal Mounted Police
They ride horses.
ride horses. I'm like, how are you gonna catch criminals on a horse? So for number 6, guys, for anybody that lives in Kentucky, well, I shouldn't say guys, but women in Kentucky cannot marry more than 3 times. So Kim Kardashian has one more shot at this.
If she wants to.
If she is in Kentucky.
Number 5.
Oh. I just read it. I forgot about it. Okay, alright, so you get this one.
In Carrizozo, Mexico. Wait, no. In Carrizozo, New Mexico, it is illegal for a woman to be seen in public unshaven. I think this is, I mean, look, I'm all for feminism and women's rights, but sometimes you see women with these like really long armpit hairs and you're just like, what are you doing? I don't know. It's just, what are your thoughts on women with hairy legs? Or
I say if you want to, you know, let the hair go, let it go, let it grow.
Really?
If you want, just do it.
I mean, I guess it's fine if you're in a relationship, you have someone and you're covering that up, but if you're walking down the street, I don't know. I say shave it off.
Now, why are tattoos illegal in Iran? Well, most Iranians consider tattooing as an anti-value act based on their culture. However, it's only forbidden in particular conditions. So tattoos which contain obscene or any form of offensive or nasty imagery on certain visible parts of the body like your face, your hands, your arms, it's actually illegal and a punishable offense. VPNs come in at number 4, and that stands for virtual private networks. So virtual private networks pretty much unblock content and improve privacy. So they have become increasingly popular around the world. And you know, in Iran, signing up with a VPN provider registered and approved by the government is actually 100% legal. However, the main reason that people use VPNs anyways is to access websites that are blocked by the government. So chances are that the VPNs that they use anyways will be ones that are illegal. Then next up we have neckties at number 3. Publicly wearing neckties is effectively banned in Iran. Now, there's no written law against wearing ties, but they are looked down on under Iran's strict Islamic dress code. Shop owners, they tend to sell them under the counter though. And the former president of Iran, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, he angered senior clerics in 2010 when he said it was acceptable for men to wear ties. Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, he wore open-necked shirts, and Ayatollah Ahmad Khatami claimed at the time that the supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei had issued a fatwa, or a religious edict, against wearing straight ties or bow ties. So a whole bunch of controversy and stuff happening with the ties. So just don't wear it, I guess. Ponytails, it's also something that is banned. So Iran's cultural ministry in 2010 published a list of approved hairstyles in order to get rid of Western hairstyles that are influencing the country. So ponytails, mullets, and other long hairstyles all got clamped down on. However, the 1980s style, Elvis, you know, that Elvis pompadour style, that's 100% accepted in the country. There's literally like a whole list of hairstyles. Like, you can actually check this out to see what's legal and what's not. And finally, number 1, we have public affection. Any touching between men and women who are not family members is absolutely forbidden. Even a handshake can actually be punishable and is called an illegitimate sexual relationship short of adultery. And this is what a woman by the name of Atina Fargandani, who was 20 at the time, found out. Atina Fargandani was sentenced to 12.5 years in jail for drawing a political cartoon, and was then charged with indecency for shaking her lawyer's hand when he came to visit her in jail. However though, she was freed 1 year later. Farting! Yeah. So over in Malawi, it is technically illegal to fart in public, and this is all under an old law that prohibits fouling the air or polluting it in a way that could cause annoyance to others. While the law is not often enforced, it remains on the books though, and there have been occasions where people were arrested or fined for farting in public. The law reflects the cultural taboo around flatulence in many parts of the world, as well as the desire to maintain public order and decorum. However, some people, of course, have criticized this law as outdated and just completely unnecessary, and they argue that it infringes on personal freedoms and it's very difficult to enforce. Next up, number 9, video games. So over in the country of Iran, certain video games that are deemed to be harmful to Islamic values or promote violence are actually banned by the government. Now, this ban was first introduced back in the year 2011 with the goal of protecting Iranian youth from exposure to harmful content and promoting traditional Islamic values. So, games that feature violence or other forms of immoral behavior are typically targeted for banning, as well as games that promote foreign or Western cultures that are incompatible with Iranian values. But the ban is enforced by the Ministry of Culture and Islamic Guidance, which is responsible for reviewing and approving all forms of media, including, in this case, video games. But in response, some Iranians have turned to underground channels to access banned games, and in some cases, they've even created their own localized versions that comply with Islamic values. In at the number 8 spot, we have plastic bags. Reducing plastic is definitely beneficial, but banning it is an entirely new thing. Several countries, including Rwanda, Kenya, and Bangladesh, have banned the use of plastic bags due to their negative environmental impacts. Plastic bags are known for their durability and can take hundreds of years to degrade, and this causes long-term pollution of land, waterways, and oceans. In addition, the production of plastic bags requires significant amounts of fossil fuels, contributing to greenhouse gas emissions. Number 7 was so surprising. Okay, over in Greece, certain areas of the country, actually, not the whole country, but high heels are actually banned on archaeological sites, and this is all to prevent damage to ancient ruins and monuments. The ban was introduced back in the year 2009 after it was discovered that high-heeled shoes can cause significant damage to delicate marble and stone surfaces, particularly in areas with high foot traffic. The ban applies to both visitors and staff, and signs are posted to inform visitors of this rule. And visitors are encouraged to wear comfortable flat shoes or sandals instead, which are a lot less likely to cause any damage. Some tourists, they have been caught violating the ban and have faced fines or other penalties. This one takes us over into France. We look at the ban on ketchup. It's definitely not uncommon for schools to have strict rules and regulations about what food students are allowed to bring and consume during lunchtime. And one such rule that has gained attention is the ban on ketchup in school cafeterias in France. While ketchup is a very popular condiment in many parts of the world, French school officials, they argue that it can be way too sugary and may encourage unhealthy eating habits among children. So the ban on ketchup has been in place for several years in some schools, and it has been met with mixed reactions from students and also the parents. While some argue that the ban is overly strict and just straight up unnecessary, others see it as a way to encourage children to eat more balanced and nutritious meals. In China, the Chinese Communist Party placed a ban on online Bible downloads and even went on to empty bookshops of Bibles, even going to the extreme of altering the verses of the Bible and replacing them with President Xi's words. The Bible appears to have been removed from online marketplaces in China as Beijing clamps down on how its citizens practice religion in the country. China has always controlled sales of the Bible, only allowing it to be distributed and printed by state-sanctioned churches. But in recent years, it has been available to buy online, and that loophole now appears to be firmly clamped down on. Searches for Holy Bible did not return any results on JD.com, and results on Amazon.cn did not include the main text, but did include study guides and the Quran. Number 4 leads us to North Korea. North Korea is a totalitarian state, and in this country, the only thing that the citizens are permitted to worship is the nation's leader, Kim Jong-un. The Bible and the Quran are both banned in the country, and those who are found in possession of either one of them will face maybe torture or imprisonment and possibly capital punishment. Next up in this episode is Saudi Arabia. Because Saudi Arabia is an absolute monarchy and no other religion except Islam is allowed there, people might worship in private, but getting any religious text outside of the Quran into the country is very restricted. There is no freedom of religion in Saudi Arabia, which is why one can't freely practice their religion. And punishment is harsh for people caught smuggling Bibles into the country who intend to use it for public evangelism. The public practice of any form of religion other than Islam is illegal in Saudi Arabia, as well as the intention to convert others is illegal. However, the Saudi authorities, they do accept people worshiping in private, and you can definitely bring religious texts into the country just as long as it's for personal use, not for public use or trying to convert people to that religion that you're professing. The next country with bans on the Bible is Yemen. Yemen is struck in what aid group UNICEF calls one of the world's largest humanitarian crises, as it's struggling to provide food and health care for its citizens. And this challenging situation proves to also be very difficult for Christians because aid is often distributed by local leaders who in certain cases give less aid priority to non-Muslims. Additionally, no Christian is permitted to keep a Bible with them in the country. The final country in this episode at number 1 is Afghanistan. Afghanistan did not recognize any Afghan citizens as being a Christian. And once back in 2009, Bibles in Afghan languages sent to a US soldier at a base in Afghanistan were actually confiscated and destroyed to ensure that the troops did not breach regulations that forbid proselytizing. And this was according to a military spokeswoman. Now, the US military did deny that its soldiers tried to convert Afghans to Christianity after the Qatar-based media outlet Al Jazeera showed soldiers at a Bible class on a base with a stack of Bibles translated into local Pashto and Dari languages.
The country number 10 is Belgium. The country of Belgium was the second country to enforce a ban on the full face veil, and this was done back in the year 2011. The penalties for violation of this ban is pretty big. Anyone caught wearing the veil can be jailed for up to 7 days, as well as they could be fined 1,378 euros. Moving on to the country at number 9, Turkey. Despite Turkey being a predominantly Muslim country, women who work in the public sector, like teachers and lawyers, are actually banned from wearing headscarves to their place of work. But women can now wear the veil everywhere they go, except in judiciary, military, and police forces. However, back in February 2016, there was a Pakistani national English teacher who quit his job after being forced to choose between his beard and his career. Apparently his beard was too much covering on his face. Russia is at number 8. In Russia, students are forbidden from wearing hijabs while they are attending public schools in the Stavropol region. Russia has a large Muslim population, and the government has taken several actions to limit violence by giving subsidies as well as a level of independence to regions with Muslim majorities. However, these type of decisions have led to a buildup of resentment and tension from non-Muslims living in those regions towards Muslims. At number 7, we have Switzerland. Following the results of a referendum where 65% voted in favor of this ban, it is now illegal to wear a full face veil in public. This is not a nationwide ban though. The ban applies to Switzerland's Tessin region. And if you're caught wearing a burqa, you can be fined up to 9,200 euros. Yeah, that's an insane amount of money just for covering up. The country at number 6 is Italy. Pretty similar to Switzerland, Italy's ban is not nationwide at all, but even so, unfortunately for Muslims, the full face veil has only been banned in the town of Novara since the year 2010. And there's not necessarily a penalty imposed though, but this is still something that does exist. Halfway in at number 5, we have the country of Spain. Luckily for the Muslim population in Spain, the full veil has not been completely banned in all of Spain's cities. However, several parts of Catalonia have imposed laws against burqas and niqabs. According to a European Court of Human Rights ruling back in the year 2014, the ban is upheld as it doesn't breach human rights. Next up is a surprising one. We have the country of Egypt. In the year 2020, Egypt's High Administrative Court approved Cairo University's decision to ban its professors from wearing the niqab or face veil. And this ended a controversy that began 5 years prior. The controversy was based on a debate over whether or not banning the niqab in public spaces violates personal freedoms or constitutes religious discrimination. And this is surprising because the vast majority of the Egyptian population, 90% actually, identify as Muslim. The country of Chad is up next at number 3. Following 2 attacks that happened in the year 2015, people really wanted a ban of wearing full face veils, which the government believed was used as a camouflage in carrying out the attacks. Now, the Prime Minister at the time, he went as far as to say that he would burn any burqa that he saw on sale. Military officers, they began immediately to go into various different retail shops in Chad in order to remove all Islamic clothing. Although the reasoning for the ban is to combat extremism, the reality is that many people wear loose-fitting garments that fully cover their skin in order to protect themselves from the sun in the region. So not just Muslims are being affected by this. Moving on to number 2, we have the Netherlands. The Netherlands has passed a partial ban on face veils, which applies to public areas such as schools, public transportation vehicles, as well as hospitals. The government said that the ban isn't meant to be discriminatory and doesn't extend to all public spaces. Now, the number of women who wear face veils in the Netherlands is not a large number, but it still is a great annoyance to those who it affects. The partial ban comes with a fine of 405 euros when violated. Now, the country to end this episode off on is the country of France. This one has been in the news a lot recently. Either way, France banned burqas in the year 2011 and was the first European nation to do so. Many in favor of the ban support it because they believe that burqas go against France's principle of living together, known as vivre ensemble. Many French citizens do believe that the law has only increased division and has led to an increase in violence by those who oppose the ban. France currently has the largest number of Muslims in all of Western Europe, and they look to continue to uphold this ban under the intention to keep France safe.
Starting at number 10, we have dirty bombs. Now, this isn't in reference to the amount of dirt or anything that's on the bomb, but dirty bombs are simply bombs that are loaded with radioactive material. They are banned under international law because they have proven to be far too destructive for humanity. These bombs can turn any area into an uninhabitable wasteland, which of course would affect the sustainability of life on our planet. Next up at number 9, we have poison bullets. So we have become very accustomed to seeing all sorts of guns being capable of hitting far away targets with pinpoint accuracy. We see it in movies, we see it in TV, we see it in real life. However, early guns were not as accurate or even as powerful as the ones that we have today. So this led to people trying to get more creative to make their weapons more impactful. And this led people to put on their creative thinking caps and start putting poison on the bullets so that in case they miss their target, or if the bullets hit the target but the impact wasn't as powerful as they planned, at least the bullet would not be a total waste. So poison bullets have been banned since 1675 in the Strasbourg Agreement. Also, non-self-destructing landmines are completely banned. Landmines are only allowed if they include a self-destruction mechanism that will be activated after a certain period of time. This is a scary thought because, you would have a lot of mines just sitting around there and they can be set off anytime by unsuspecting travelers. Back in the year 2013, 111 Cambodian citizens detonated landmines that had been in the ground for over 40 years. And because of their ongoing threat to the safety of people, since the year 1980, landmines must be equipped with a timer to deactivate them after a certain period of time. In at the number 7 spot, we have blinding laser beams. Blinding laser beams are powerful enough to cause permanent blindness. Of course, it's in the name. So that's the reason why they were banned. There are now alternatives that can be used to temporarily hinder your enemy's sight, like flash grenades and smoke grenades. Both of them are non-lethal and they prove to be effective in stopping the opposing forces in their tracks while you escape or plan your next offensive maneuver. Now let's take a look at napalm at number 6. Napalm is a burning agent and it can't be used on people nor anywhere near civilians. However, international law does not specifically prohibit the use of napalm against military targets, but only against civilian targets. This ban was put into effect by the United Nations Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons in 1980. Napalm is effective against secure locations like bunkers, caves, tunnels, as well as vehicles, convoys, etc. And napalm clings to whatever it touches, creating a large burning area around the target, and this decreases the need for accuracy when using napalm bombs. Halfway in at number 5, we have biological weapons. Probably the most disturbing, yet one of the oldest weapons ever used in combat. In ancient times, they would catapult rotting bodies into cities in order to spread diseases among their enemies. And today, any form of biological weapon is completely banned because the effects would be difficult to contain. Yeah, disease would spread like crazy. And not to mention, that would be just complete disrespect for those who passed away. Next up, we have plastic landmines. Now, we spoke about landmines before in this episode, and it's one thing to have a mine that can go off at any time, but imagine having a mine that cannot be detected or is very hard to detect. That's why militaries are no longer allowed to set up landmines that cannot be detected by X-ray. All of these landmines must have metallic pieces in them that can be seen by X-ray. In the number 3 spot, we have flamethrowers. These make for cool effects in video games and movies and all of that, but it's a whole different story in real life. Although flamethrowers aren't entirely banned, you can't use them to fry your enemies though. This is according to Protocol 3 of the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons. You can't use fire weapons on people, but you can use them to clear away leaves and plants so that your troops can continue onward. Just imagine if real life was like the video games when it came to fire weapons. Scary thought. Spike pits are number 2. When I was a kid, I had this fear of falling into one of these things. Like, I don't even know where that fear came from, but spike pits or punji stick traps were weapons that were used as late as the Vietnam War. However, Protocol 2 of the 1979 Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons finally banned their use. They were made out of wood or bamboo that was sharpened and heated and often covered by leaves or grass or whatever to make it look like the ground was completely open to walk on. And then when the enemy would walk over it, boom, it would collapse and they would, well, I don't have to describe what would happen next. It's a spike pit. And finally, the number 1 military banned weapon is poisonous gases. And there are 5 types I'm going to be listing in number 1. First off, we have the blood agents, and these are toxic and are absorbed into the blood, and they cause long and violent ending to life. Now, phosgene gas as well as hydrogen cyanide are 2 kinds of blood agents. Then there's blister agents like mustard gas, and they cause severe chemical burns on the skin and eyes. There's nerve agents like VX and sarin gases, and they break down the neurotransmitters that make organs function. And following that, we have the choking agents, and these impede the victim's ability to breathe, causing a buildup of fluid in the lungs and eventually leads to drowning. And the final type is nettle agents. Now, nettle agents irritate the skin, but they do not cause any blisters.